Hello, ladies. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Good day and welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here on this Thursday, the 5th of November, 2020. Now, big election going on down in the United States. Let's get the charts open right here and take a look at what's going on. First thing I want to show you guys is this election seems to be deadlocked, and if it does come down to a tie, I'm going to tell you guys how they solve it. It says it's increasingly unlikely that the results will be a tie. But if it is, then the newly created House of Representatives will have to choose between Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump. In January, they'll choose. Such a vote is called a contingent election. It hasn't been used to decide the presidency since 1825. It would involve every state's delegation of legislators choosing a block whether to support Mr. Trump or Mr. Biden, and whichever one gets 26 states first wins. That's what they would have to do if this comes down to a tie. But now, I've been watching the state of Nevada, and the state of Nevada is down to, they've counted 75% of the votes. And why this is so important is these electoral college votes that are in Nevada are basically up for grabs for either side because they're almost deadlocked in Nevada. There's only 0.6% difference between Trump and Biden in Nevada. And that's not very much of a difference. It's almost identical. They're both right in there, right, so close in Nevada, and 25% of the votes haven't been counted yet. So if they count those 25% of the votes and they're all but Biden, or a lot of them are Biden, then Biden will swing to win in Nevada. But if they count the rest of those 25% of the votes and most of them are for Trump, then Trump will swing to win. And those few electoral votes in Nevada could swing it one way or the other. Okay? Nevada hasn't come in yet. We're still waiting for news from Nevada. It's been like several days. So this is all actually coming down to Nevada. That's the way I see it anyway. Which way is Nevada going to swing? Is it going to swing blue or is it going to swing red? Anyway, some race is going on here. And let's take a look now today at the silver price. $24.97 on silver today. It's up $1.08 on the day. That's a big day for silver, guys. 4.52%. That's a big day for silver. Now, let's take a look at gold, the gold price today. See what's going on with it. My internet's been acting slow lately, and I don't know why I've been having trouble with the internet. Let's go on to cryptocurrency while we wait for the gold price to come in. Cryptocurrency is $424.2 billion on the day for market cap. We were in the 300s, 390 just a few days ago, and Bitcoin price is soaring. It's up almost $15,000, $14,910 right now, but it was $15,000 when I was on here a few minutes ago. That's getting up near its old price, its old high price, So Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are actually doing pretty good. Let me refresh this page. Okay, here's the gold price. $1943.50. It's up $40.90 so far. It looks like it's crested. Looks like it's going along sideways now. It's crested in price. Above $1940. It looks like it's crested. Let's take a look at the Dow today. 28,316. It's up 468 points. And you can see over the last 5 days, it's like it's climbing stairs each day. Up, 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 up. Tremendous surge in the Dow, It's getting up near its old all-time high before the crisis came along, Let's take a look now at crude oil. 38.66. Crude is down a little bit. They're having a problem keeping crude at $40, aren't they? You notice that? They're having a problem. And I think OPEC is doing everything that they can do throwing the kitchen sink at it, trying to keep it up at $40. Krug wants to slump off. That's because, all through Europe right now, we're getting a resurgence in this virus, and people aren't driving as much, and this is putting a strain on the oil price to keep it down. Bonds and rates today, we're looking at Treasury yields minimally rising, but they took an awful big dip the other day, Now they're bouncing back a little bit on the long end of the yield curve. We're looking at U.S. 10-year at 0.78, and we're looking at the 30-year at 1.56, and we're looking at a movement of almost 2 basis points on the 10-year. 1.8 basis points movement up on the 10-year. Let's take a look at the move index. Now, this is the most interesting on all the charts. This is the big mover today. It's moved 25% today down. I'm going to tell you guys, something's going on with this move index. It's falling like this. When it falls like this, it means there's some sort of stimulus going on. And I would suspect there's some sort of stimulus going on behind the scenes right now, even though it's not being announced, that's affecting the gold price, affecting the cryptocurrency price, affecting the markets, moving them upwards, some sort of stimulus, and it's also moving this down, this move index. I would suspect it has something to do with the bond yields falling so precipitously, like they fell like 10 basis points there yesterday or the day before. It's got something to do with something going on behind the scenes. I haven't got wind of exactly what it is, but I see it in these charts. I can see this move index falling today. It's fell 25% in one day. This means more stimulus money's coming into the market somehow, more than likely. That's more than likely what it means. Maybe some sort of backdoor stimulus they're not announcing or something. The U.S. dollar index today. The dollar's fallen, and this is what the dollar would do if they're doing some sort of stimulus behind the scenes. Of course, there's nothing that they can totally get away with doing with nobody knowing. Investors know, like they can get wind of stuff. If the Fed's doing some sort of stimulus behind the scenes, investors would know about it, and they would be selling off dollars. And so that's what we see. We see the dollar falling, too. Okay. It's time for our funny picture of the day, and I'm going to tell you guys a little story. This is a snapper turtle, and they're big. Now, the biggest snapper turtle I ever seen was, I was traveling in to get gravel, and I had a big pickup truck, and I was driving in to get gravel into a big gravel pit with a big company called Shaw Industries or whatever, Nova Scotia Sand and Gravel, and they got a long dirt road going into their processing plant, and these big semi trucks come up and down that road, and they roar up and down that road like 50 miles an hour, even though it's, maybe 40 miles an hour, even though it's a dirt road, and they create a big cloud of dust behind them, these big semi trucks. Well, there was this old snapper turtle, and he was trying to cross the road. And he must have been 100 years old. He was so big. And he was so big that he must have been, counting his tail and all, he must have been about 5 feet long. 4 or 5 feet long. I mean, he was a monster. He must have weighed 75, maybe even 100 pounds. He was so big. And he was trying to cross the road, and I stopped my pickup truck, and I said, oh my goodness, this guy's going to get run over, because those big semi-trucks come through there so fast, and there's so many of them, He'll never get across this road before he's squished. They'll squish him, those big semi-trucks, So I stopped my pickup truck, and I got out, and I went over, and he was mean. He was a mean old bugger, He's snapping at me and flipping his tail like a big alligator, And I tried to push him with my boot, and he spun his head around, and he's hissing and everything else, and they had that big snapper on him, and I'm telling you, he could take your whole foot right off in one bite. He had such a big snapper on him, because he's a monster. He was a monster. So I had these old 2x6s in the truck. I went and I got 2x6. 2x6x8s. I got a 2x6, and I went over to him, And he twisted his head around. He grabbed that 2x6 in his bill, and he took a chunk out of it. And then he grabbed it again, and I could feel the strength of his bill coming up through the lumber, and tremendous jaw biting power he had. I never seen anything like it. It's like a vice. It's like putting a 2x6 in a vice. So I said, well, that ain't working. He's still determined on crossing the road, So I stuck the 2x6 underneath the side of his shell, and there's a little rock there, and I kind of pushed it down real hard and fast, and it flipped him right up over on his back. And when he got on his back, his whole demeanor changed. He was flipping his little legs around, trying to right himself, and it's twisting and flipping his tail around and twisting, and his whole demeanor changed. He wasn't out to fight anymore. That scared him. That really scared him, and so he flipped himself back right side up again. When he got right side up, he wasn't on to fight and get across the road anymore. He realized that, hey, this is dangerous here. He changed. His whole personality changed at that point. He was like, I'm getting the heck out of here. He wiggled off and he went back to where he was going, like, where he originally came from, down into the swamp. Slid down into the swamp, and I remember right now seeing his big tail flipping back and forth as he was going back down into the swamp, back down to his home. I wonder if he come up later after I left and tried to cross that road again. I hope he didn't, because of those big semi-trucks and everything. Because, they would squish him. Even though he was a big monster I tend to think he probably went back home and stayed home. He probably gave up on the idea of crossing that road. Anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye-bye.